Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel, and today we're going to talk about dark empathy. Dark empathy is something that a lot of people don't know a lot about. Obviously, empathy is the ability to connect with people on an emotional level, help them through their challenges emotionally, and be there for them as a support network. Dark empathy, though, is the ability to understand how a person feels and to be able to use that understanding in a way to manipulate to get what a person wants, be it financially, emotionally, sexually, or in any other manner. And this is neither necessarily positive or negative. I think at some level we've all been a dark empath with a person that we maybe need to get something from, or someone that's hurt us and we seek revenge. But if it becomes a pattern of behavior, certainly it's a negative thing. And in an ideal world, we wouldn't feel the need to do that at any level. However, we don't live in an ideal world, and people have often expectations that are unrealistic, and so the nature to manipulate is part of human existence. But if you're dealing with a person that you feel is a dark empath, that is someone that's using your emotions against you, there are 4 or 5 ways to kind of know what's there and the challenge thereof. And the first is they come across as fake, so they know how to perform in a way that's socially acceptable in regard to emotion, showing sympathy, showing empathy, showing caring about things that they normally don't care about at the right time when they notice that your emotion is going down. This is to build a bond, but it's also to build resilient dependency. Resilient meaning coming back to on a consistent basis and using kind of as a tenfold. Dependency, of course, meaning the idea that you would depend on a person. So if the habit of depending on a person for one's emotional support can be manipulated in any way and faked in order to build that bond, it can be beneficial for a person who has ulterior motives, like wanting someone to be loyal to them or wanting to be able to control or manipulate situations, which is the other motivator. A person with dark empathetic tendencies is a person who wants to manipulate how they're seen, how others see them, and how others feel about them. This is especially done by people that have narcissistic traits, Machiavellian traits, or sociopathic traits. These individuals understand that emotions are just tools to be used to get to a goal. And this is obviously within the majority of society seen as a negative thing. And for the most part, it is, but it does go back to the beginning of human behavior. In other words, human connective back in the caveman times and the more tribal times several hundreds or thousands of years ago, depending on your beliefs about history, the need to control and manipulate others was present as a form of survival. If you could convince someone to go hunting for you because you didn't feel well enough to go hunting, or if you could convince another family in the tribe in the cave next door, so to speak, metaphysically or metaphorically, that they needed to share with you, it guaranteed your survival. Now, a lot of people that have been through trauma are looking to survive through the benefit of having someone that they believe understands them, connects with them, and loves them. And so what happens is when one feels unlovable or when one feels they can't be accepted completely, they will mirror image what they believe the right behavior or common behavior or most logical behavior is in order to get another person to see them in a certain light. Once this person sees them in a certain light, they can kind of let other more insecure parts of themselves seep through, and that may be their true self, and their true self may be controlling, may be manipulative, or whatever have you. Meanwhile, the person has fallen in love, or at least in infatuation with the original image they showed, and problems are there. A guilt mechanism is also part of um, this transaction too, in that if a person can use guilt, threats of physical harm, threats of emotional harm, threats of self-harm, threats of isolation, loneliness, darkness, feelings of rage or negative emotion in order to inspire a person to behave in a different way, because they know the person will react a certain way to certain negative stimulus. This can be used to manipulate a person's responses. In other words, if you don't get me that candy bar, just to use a kid's example, if you don't give me that candy bar, I'm going to throw a tantrum. Well, the parent doesn't want the tantrum, and they know from previous experience that the kid will do it, so therefore they give in, and they've been guilted into, you know, because they don't want the consequence, or guilted, hey, you were late for my recital, hey, you were late for this or that, so you owe me, and that feeling of owing a person can be used as leverage of blackmail, which is often very, very unfortunate. Constant dark humor or satire or criticism, excuse me, is another great nature of the way in which people will use dark empathy. So, when we're critical of others, we build bonds with those who agree with the criticism. In other words, critical of a celebrity because they have more money than us, or we're critical of a person who has power because they have power and we don't. And so, when bonds are built based on darker humor, when bonds are built based on satire, sarcasm, and the like, it can be very difficult to know. Okay, I'm judgmental of all people who are in poverty. Well, wait, I'm in poverty too. Does that mean you're judgmental of me? Oh no, you're the exception. Well, when a person believes they're the exception, they might drop their guard, and in reality, they were never an exception to that rule, and the person was judging you all along. These types of examples happen a lot, especially in relationships where there's major age or cultural or social economic differences, where one party says, "Oh, you're the exception to the rule," and then when the relationship breaks down, they realize that wasn't true. Final thing is, they'll gossip and use leverage of being able to speak negatively about the other person in social situations so as to almost have leverage should the relationship start to go sour. Now, what that ultimately means is that a person can, for example, say, "Oh, well, she's afraid of being abandoned," and then, you know, another person, a friend of theirs or whatever, might say, "Well, you know, if you do this, he'll abandon you," and that trigger of fear and the person knowing a weakness can actually send a person into a traumatic state. None of these are positive outcomes, and certainly if you know someone that's using your emotions against you, it's worthwhile and necessary to get help. But at the end of the day, it's necessary to look at this from a different perspective, in so much as it is unhealthy and unnecessary to live in that level of stress. And hopefully this has been helpful to you. I encourage you to reach out if there's something that I or another coach, counselor, or person of professional nature can do for you to make managing relationships a little bit easier in this very difficult time in social history, as I think now more than ever people are struggling to feel related and connected with and to. Certainly, I'm seeing that more than ever with the clients I already have. But until next time, keep your feet on the ground and your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.